Hello and welcome to amipal, the #1 place on the internet for the sweetest Amiga content. This episode is about TFX. I've done an episode about Amiga flight simulators before. In fact, I've done a two-parter episode because flight sims take so damn long to fly anywhere in them, doesn't it? Unless you've got accelerated time on, which wasn't supported by many. Anyway, I digress. TFX. Why am I showing you a CUCD rather than a game box? Well, it was never officially released on the Amiga. TFX was released on the PC by Ocean, and it was supposed to come out on the Amiga around the same time, but because of the way the market was going, yeah, we all know that story, don't we? Ocean decided not to release it. There was a version in production, and it was almost ready to go. I think they say something like 95% ready. But then it was never released. In 1997, CU Amiga got hold of what was available, and were able to give it away on their cover disc. And there was a big announcement at the World of Amiga that year. I remember it being rather exciting. However, one thing about TFX is that it was programmed specifically for the Amiga way of doing things, which is planar graphics. So you're just chucking stuff at chip RAM, whatever you're doing graphics wise. Now, a lot has been learnt between producing games for the Amiga back then and producing what can be done now, in terms of faster processors, fast RAM, and general knowledge about processor registers and things like that. Why am I talking about this? Well, if you've watched my relatively recent Alien Breed 3D2 The Killing Grounds WIP episode, you'll know a lot of work has gone on with the source code of that in order to optimize it and make it far, far better than it ever was upon release by Team 17. And that had already been tweaked a bit, with some releases onto Aminet and I believe for WHD load as well. But even more has been done since then, and I could probably do another episode on that, but I'm not going to. Instead, TFX has received that treatment, and I've been following a thread on English Amiga board, much in the same way as I did with Alien Breed 3D2 The Killing Grounds, that led me down quite the rabbit hole. So let's put TFX on. I've got the Tower, the Beast, booted today with 68060 in there, and I'll show you how this game ran and how it runs now. So this is TFX FPU is the version that I've booted into. Now, in order to get this to work on my Blizzard PPC with Oxypatcher and OS 3.9 and all the other bits and pieces, I've had to actually do it via boot with no startup sequence. So I've started with running set patch, I've assigned TFX to this directory, I've assigned did to this directory, I've increased the stack to 10,000, and then I've run TFX FPU. I'm just going to arcade because it uses the same engine as the simulation and just allows us to get into the game a little bit quicker. So I'll just show you some interior and exterior views for this. Now I'm unsure what I need to set in here. We've got a keyboard. Let's increase the. Let's put everything on, shall we? Detail menu. Enabled, enabled. I think 32 is the maximum that I can go to. We'll see what happens with that. So I don't have any clue of what the actual FPS is on this. I mean, it functions all right, but considering the 68060 is kind of equivalent to a Pentium, a slightly fast Pentium, so 50 megahertz 060 is kind of what, a 75 P75, I think people say. I'm sure someone will correct me, as is the case. But yeah, I mean, it moves all right. There goes the missiles. Really slows down when those go past. Let's put the exterior view. Can't get this thing level. I had this problem last time I played it. So things really slow down when you go under a bit of the exterior. Here in my F22. I do like the way you get this cockpit view. There's the missile. It's not going to hit anything, I don't think. But yeah, it's all right. I don't think it's particularly responsive. I mean, this is going to be better than it is on the A30, but it works all right. It looks like a lizard. Is it a lizard? I don't even think I'm in range, but never mind. Let's put on the newer version from Paraj on EAB and the others who have helped him to realise the dream. Now, this new version, you might have briefly been able to see there, is actually WHD load, which of course bypasses any sort of system patching or anything else you have, because it's kind of running in its own sandbox, if you will. So straight in, let's go in here, because I'm not entirely sure it's kept what I want. High, enabled, 2. Not entirely sure what's going on with the mouse, but there we go. Everything else on. Here we go. That looks more like it, doesn't it? You can straight away see we've got numbers in the top right hand corner there showing the frames per second. I'm getting a consistent 20, 21 FPS. I mean, it's gradually leveling out, I think. But straight away you can see. I mean, it's orders of magnitude better, isn't it? And I can more easily get it back on the center line. The main takeaway from this is how much better it feels. Not necessarily how it looks, but how it responds to your actions on the joystick or mouse control or keyboard, whatever you're doing. Let's go for some afterburner, asterisk, and yeah. I mean, that virtual cockpit looks lovely, doesn't it? You can even see my headrest. Turning your head like an owl. And there I am. It moves so much nicer. Firing that at nothing in particular. You can see that the smoke effects really impacts the frames per second, but really, you know, once that's gone, it's gone. What is this doing differently to the existing version? Well, what we're doing here, or the idea being, is that rather than writing stuff directly to chip RAM, the source code has been amended, disassembled and reassembled, I think, with the idea of writing stuff straight to fast RAM, and basically just using that as a frame buffer. So as soon as the writes are completed for the screen, you just copy that straight to chip RAM. So you're only really limited by the bandwidth between your accelerator and the Amiga bus, the shared Amiga bus. Chip RAM, of course, there's a limit to the speed it can be written to. So if you're doing lots of writes to actually generate this image straight to chip RAM, that's all competing with everything else that's going on within the Amiga system in terms of the chip RAM accessing the shared bus, the custom chips accessing the shared bus. It's a shared bus for a reason. Everything shares it, and that's why chip RAM's a lot slower than fast RAM. Fast RAM are having direct access to the CPU, particularly if you've got an accelerator, because that fast RAM is just for that and that alone. It is lovely and smooth now. I cannot believe the difference this has made. And this might actually be worth playing now. Might be worth me diverting some of my limited time to, because the previous version, as pretty as it looked and as okay as it ran, I didn't really feel like it was a very enjoyable game to play. While this, pull up, alright, this is a lot nicer. So that's a 50 megahertz 68060. I guess I'll best show it to you on the 030, hadn't I? Hello and welcome to OS 3.2 with the Blizzard 1230/4, a 50 megahertz 68030 accelerator in this A1200. So, in my haste, I'd already deleted the existing TFX drawer that I had on this, but thanks to the way that the WHD load version installs from here, all that stuff is still available to us to actually run. So yeah, bear that in mind. If you do grab the WHD load installer off of the usual website, it asks you to insert this disk to complete the installation. So it might be worth doing it via an emulated environment, so you can kind of grab the disk image for this and then install it from there. So here we are. First of all, we want to assign TFX to, in my casework, games TFX data, and then we want to assign did to TFX because it's the same place, and then we want to pump our stack up a bit to that, and then we're going to run TFX FPU because I've got a 68882 FPU in here. Because I'm not there yet, am I? Come on, Paul. It's doing something. Of course, this is just running off the internal IDE, unlike the Beast, which has the power flyer, the L-box machine on there. Machine. ID interface, the replacement ID interface. Just trying to get through the introduction quickly here. Okay, what we'll do, we'll just go straight into arcade like we did on the 060. So here we go. This is quite low quality again, so we'll we'll pump it up to what I had on the 030 just so you get an I don't want military spec, you know, but come on. Detail menu, horizon colours, we'll get that up. Textures, yes, yes, all of that. Right, let's do a bit of loading. So this is on the 68030 with the FPU, 50 megahertz as well. And yeah, it's okay, isn't it? I wouldn't say it's terrible. I certainly feel like it's usable. Bear in mind, this is the existing version, and again, I'm really struggling to keep it on the horizon there. Let's see if we can get rid of some of this noise on here. It's better, isn't it? Again, it's a bit annoying that there's no FPS that I can set on this so you can actually see what it is, but we can't make any direct comparison, can we? Really slows down to single digit figures there by the looks of things, doesn't it? I'm trying to get into the interior view like this. There we go. See, it's using texture mapping to generate this this cockpit, and it really does chug a bit, doesn't it? But you know, this is a 68030 and FPU combo, so I wouldn't expect it to be anywhere near as smooth as the 060, as some people might call it. I just hit F1 to get back into the cockpit. It should be really smooth, kind of whoop straight in, but it does it a bit kind of cinematic, as is the did custom. So yeah, this is a 68030. I'll boot up the latest WHD load version now, and we can have a bit of a comparison. Hopefully this should demonstrate the ease with which WHD load allows you to get into games. I mean, I'll just double click on that. What should we do? 020 plus FPU. We won't do that. Show frame rate, start action mode, skip intro. Yes. And that's another thing about WHD load, that it allows you to configure your game experience in many cases. So in other games like platformers, for instance, it may allow you to set a second fire button for jump. Like with Lemmings, it allows you to skip to a particular level. Really handy. And in this case, it allows us to completely skip all of that introduction. Well, that's good, isn't it? Oh no. And also allows you to send off debug information to the people who have produced the WHD load slave file, in the hope that they can fix whatever bugs they find. Well, I managed to get it working by loading up just the 68020 version of the WHD load version. So whether that's integer only without FPU and we're just running on the 030, I don't know. We're still getting to kind of single digit numbers, but this definitely feels good. Interior cockpit details still look good. Here's the aircraft. I've got Gouraud shading and all the other detail bits on. So let's have a flyby. There we go. It's good doing these flybys because hopefully I can put them side by side. I felt like that jump back into the cockpit was a bit faster, don't you? Yeah, must be. No idea why that other version didn't run. So that's a bit of concern. But like I said, I've generated the core dump and I can send that off to the maintainer of the WHD load package, and hopefully they can have a squiz at it, and they'll probably say, oh well, clearly there's something horribly wrong with your machine. Step away from it. Amipal, you don't know what you're doing. Won't be the first time I've heard that. I think we can definitely say though that this this function is a lot nicer than just the standard integer version on a 68030 would function. Much better. And if I'm right, again, someone tell me, the chip RAM access speeds are faster with the 1230/4 than they are with the Blizzard PPC, which is notoriously slow. I can't run like Chaos Engine AGA on the Blizzard PPC, for instance. It just is so, don't feel right. So yeah, there we go. If you've got an accelerated Amiga, give TFX a go with the new version. And I've splashed another lizard. Well, I don't know what I did differently. I thought I'd give it another go with the FPU version. But here we are. Is that frames a second any better than you were seeing with the integer version? I'm not sure it is, actually. We've got the same stuff all set up, enabled. Well, okay. I was lucky to get that far by the looks of it. In this case, I pressed F3 in order to look right in the cockpit, and it decided to dump at that point. Yeah. So how did this all come about? Well, on English Amiga board there was a user called Girth who had dreamt of TFX running on an Amiga back in the day, and basically asked someone for an example of it running on the PiStorm, which is an Amiga accelerator that uses a Pi, Raspberry Pi, you know, that kind of thing, as a glorified and extremely fast, might I add, CPU. Basically emulates a 680, no, yeah, 68040 or 68030, something like that. I don't know, I haven't got one. Correct me, please. He wanted to see a video of it running on that because the idea was being that this thing runs at stupid megahertz and therefore it should be amazing. Another user called Tomcat666 put up a video from their PiStorm and basically announced that they were disappointed with the performance that it does, speculating that it was chip RAM that was the issue. And sure enough, you watch it and it's not that impressive at all what was happening. And that's when Paraj got involved, and also Carlos and JOTD, who maintained WHD load slaves and other parts of the package. And that's where we are today. This has been out for roughly 6 weeks so far. I was quite slow on the uptake because I've been following the Alien Breed 3D2 TKG updates and haven't really been browsing the rest of EAB. And in the meantime, all this has been going on in the background, completely unknown to me. So it's a lovely surprise to find it. It was like, whoa, what's going on here? I think someone mentioned something about it on another forum I was on, and I thought, oh, I best look into that. And again, mind blown by what Amiga coders can do. Again, this is about having knowledge of how the Amiga works, knowledge of how 6.8 0x0 series processors, use registers, best way to use assembly with them, various variables and stuff like that. Real deep knowledge. And I suppose if you're porting from a PC version to the Amiga, you're probably thinking, right, well, this is how all other Amiga versions of flight sims work, so we have to do it like this, without thinking perhaps that there may be a better way. Obviously, we've got better tools available to us these days as well in terms of working out using emulators. I think you can have heat maps that kind of show you where bottlenecks for different parts of code are. So it aids immensely that kind of visual representation of where code is going wrong. So we really are living in the golden age of Amiga software, aren't we? Anyway, thanks for watching. Again, any questions, please ask, and I will see you again next time. Cheers.